We're going to look at some more angles related to circles. This time we're going to look at angles formed by different sorts of lines within the circle. So first we're going to look at two chords. We've already seen if two chords intersect and make an inscribed angle. This time the two chords are going to intersect and form kind of an X in the middle of the circle, in the interior of the circle. And when they do that, the angle right here, angle 1, is going to be the average of the two arcs that are made. So you add arc AB plus arc CD and then divide by 2. It's the average of those two arcs. When you have a tangent and a secant only touches a circle one time. A secant goes through. It's kind of like a chord, but it keeps on going. So it could also be a tangent and a chord that would actually work out the same way. But the angle that's formed right there is half the arc that the secant cuts off. So from A to B, that arc, you just take half of it, and that's the measure of the angle. A lot like the inscribed angle formed by two chords. The arc would be half. When it's a secant and tangent, the angle is half the arc again. So we'll do some practice with those two, and then we'll learn another one. So here we have chords that are intersecting. We have the two arcs that they cut. Those two arcs determine the angle if we add the two arcs and divide by 2. So 111 plus 61 is 172, divided by 2 is 86. So the angles right here are 86 degrees. MPK is 86 degrees. Here we're trying to determine the arc, PR. The only thing we know, the only formula that we can apply is that the angle is the two arcs added up and divided by 2. 82 plus X divided by 2. So to solve that, we're going to multiply by 2. We get 116. Subtract the 82. You get 34. So that arc there is 34 degrees. Because 34 plus 82 is 116. 116 divided by 2 gets us the angle 58. Measure of angle BCD. BCD. We have a secant and a tangent. The angle will be half the arc. 142 divided by 2. 71 degrees. The measure of ABC, arc ABC, we're going to apply that same equation in reverse order. We know the angle is 90. So the arc is going to be double, which would be 180. Measure of arc PN. PN, so that goes from here around to N. So we know that this angle right here that forms that arc is 61 degrees. The angle is half the arc, so 61 times 2, 122. The arc is twice as big as the angle. And then angle MNP, MNP. So we have a secant and a tangent. So that whole way around right here, we're told is 238 degrees, which also makes sense with this 122 degrees we just found over here, because 122 plus 238 is 360, which is the whole circle. So that makes sense. The angle is half the arc. So angle MNP is going to be half the arc that it cuts. Half of 238 is 119. So you can also have angles that are formed by a tangent and a secant, or two tangents, or even two secants. And they're all pretty much the same formula if you summarize them together. It's always going to be the big arc minus the little arc divided by 2. Big arc AD minus the little arc divided by 2 equals the angle. Same thing over here, the big arc EHG minus the little arc EG divided by 2 equals the angle. And same thing for this one, big arc minus little arc, JN minus KM divided by 2 equals the angle. So it's always big arc minus little arc divided by 2. There's actually another special formula for two tangents, summarized right here. Angle 2 plus that inside arc right here, EG, the angle and this arc are always going to be supplementary. They always add to 180. So there's another little kind of a shortcut for that one. So here we've got two secants. Big arc minus little arc divided by 2 equals the angle. So big arc, 83, minus the little arc, x, divided by 2 equals the angle, 25. When you solve that, you're going to multiply by 2 to get 50. And then solving for x, we're going to subtract the 50. I'll move the x over. So x equals 33. Same setup for this question. Big arc minus little arc divided by 2 equals the angle, which this time is x. So we get 94 divided by 2 is 47. So here we have two tangents. That's the one I told you had two equations for. You could set it up a couple of different ways. But we only know that this big arc here is 238. So if we go the shorter way, altogether that makes a full circle 360. So 360 minus 238. This inner arc is 122. So there's two ways you can solve it. You can do big arc minus little arc divided by 2 equals the angle, which would be like that, and you just have to solve it out. Or you can just remember that the angle is always going to add to 180 with this arc. So 122, you can just subtract that from 180. That will always work out also. So x equals 58. You get the same answer either way you do it. So to find the measure of arc FD, this arc right here, we do have the angle out here, which will be big arc minus little arc divided by 2. So we can take the big arc, which is 150, minus the little arc, which is 50, divided by 2, equals the angle. Actually, we don't know that the little arc there. That's x. Divided by 2 equals that angle right there, which is 50. The big arc is 150. The little arc is x. Big arc minus little arc divided by 2 equals the angle, which is 50. So solve it out. You're going to multiply the 2 over. You get 100. So it actually works out that x is 50. The measure of arc CD right here. We know every other arc of this circle. And you know that a circle is 360 degrees. So I would just go with that. 360 degrees, we know that this is 150, this is 50, and that's 64. So that's 264 altogether. Find out how much is left over for arc CD by doing some subtraction, and you get 96. And for our last example, measure of arc KN. So from here over to N. There's a few ways you could go about it. I would look right here at these angles. I see 79 degrees and a straight line, which means that this angle right next to the 79 degrees must be 101 degrees because it's a straight line, 180. Then we have these two chords, one of which uses the arc that we're looking for, Kn. And on the other side, you get the arc of 86 degrees. So we have two chords. The angle equals arc plus the other arc divided by 2. That's the chord equation for angles. So 101 times 2 is 202. 202 minus 86, we get x equals 116. So that arc that we were looking for, Kn, is 116 degrees.